All right, here we are in the mixing section. So we're going to take everything we learned from all the other parts of this and apply it to this mix to make it sound fantastic. So we're going to do a lot of ear training. That means we're going to put EQ on every single track, and we're going to put compression on every single track. And that's not exactly normal. It's not what I would usually do. I wouldn't just reach for an EQ if I like the sound of it originally. But right now, we want to know what the applications are of the EQs and the compressors. So we'll focus on that quite a bit. And then we'll start talking about different parts of the mix, the horizontal balance of it and the vertical balance. So the horizontal balance is balancing from left to right and making it exciting with movements from left to right. And the vertical part is balancing depth of field. So not just raising volumes, but making things sound more distant and closer. We don't want it to sound like a flat piece of paper. We want it to live in a 3D world. So that's what we'll do with our vertical stuff here. And I want you to put a lot of yourself into it here, because there is no right and wrong way with mixing. You got to make sure you put what you need to put into this mix to make it sound fantastic. So make some judgment calls yourself, but get what you can out of this ear training as well. So do a lot of these EQs and a lot of these compressions. Let's get started on this mix. Welcome to this Behind the Board on mixing. We are going to clean the track up. We'll probably use some nudging and fades to make everything sound like it's dead on before we even start the mixing process. This really is the first part of the mixing process here. You could go ahead, it looks like we have our all group on. Slip that off for now. We won't be mixing in group settings like that too much. But what I want to do is go through this song and make sure everything's hitting at the same time in, say, choruses. So our first chorus is right where both guitars come in right here, and the lead. So this is where the chorus would be. Let's just zoom in there. And you can see that we are hitting pretty much exactly where we want to be hitting. This is pre-edited. When you get a track, it's not going to be edited up as much as this, most likely, and if you do it yourself, you'll have to do all the editing before you start mixing. But I did leave a few things. I left it over on the vocal tracks. I wanted to show you how to go ahead and fix some stuff. So go all the way down to the bottom. We have a BVL pre, all the way down to BVR pre 2. Zoom in over there. Now we want to cut them all the same. So you can just grab the entire area, click delete right up to where it's going to start, so we don't have any sound going on until the singing actually happens. And you can see there's some slight flamming going on here, and it's fixable, and I in general wouldn't fix this because it's so small, but let me just show you how to do it, because we want to know how to fix this sort of thing. Maybe this one is starting a bit early. So we'll take it like this, we'll grab the area, and now we're going to separate the selection. Hit Command and E. Now we separated it into a new region, and now we'll want to nudge it over. And that's the arrow buttons, not the arrow buttons on the bottom right where you have up, down, left, right. The arrow buttons that are above comma and period are what I'm talking about. So we could call them the comma and period buttons, but the arrow buttons does make it seem a little simpler. Go into your nudge, make sure you're in a very small nudge. We're going 10 milliseconds. Even that might be a bit much for the area, but we're going to nudge it to the right. So you want to go to the right arrow, and it'll move it over. Like I said, this is very small. I'm going to bring it down to 1 millisecond, and this won't be very noticeable, but we will fix everything to be dead on with each other, because this is something you'll have to do, especially when it's more like 30, 40 milliseconds off of each other. You're definitely going to have to nudge them to make them all work properly. And then after you nudge these guys, you still have this right here, and this causes issues. It causes clicks, causes pops, stuff like that. We don't want that to be there. So highlight before and after it, click Command, click the F button to bring up your fade dialog, and you want an equal power fade. These equal power crossfades, they sound terrific for these sorts of areas. You don't lose anything while they're going. So those are the ones I'd like to use for that. We'll solo it out, and hopefully it sounds correct right now. Yeah, you can't even tell it's been there. That's what you want. You want your work to be unnoticeable when it comes to fixing the track up. So that's it. Let's put a little fade at the beginning of it. And there will be fades pretty much everywhere here. There are fades everywhere here, but you won't see them. So you're probably looking at it and saying, oh, wow, you were lazy with this one, weren't you? But that's not the case. There are fades everywhere, but I actually had to go ahead and consolidate each region separately so that you didn't have all the extra takes that are here. Because every time we do a take, Pro Tools saves it, every single one of them. So what we did is consolidated all of our final takes so that we knew what we had here, and we deleted the rest of it so that I didn't have to give you a file that was huge. That really is the truth. By deleting all that stuff, we probably took this from 3 gigs down to half a gig. And that's what I wanted to do to make this a little bit easier for you to download. But there are fades at the beginning and the end of every one of these guys. They're just consolidated in now. And that's what you want to be doing. You want to be consolidating stuff. Let's do one more quick edit so we can see what we should be doing if we were doing this alone here. Let's click that off solo. And your bass, guitar left, and guitar right, there's this sort of rake going on right now. Just solo this out and you'll be able to tell pretty quick what I'm talking about. So they're raking back and forth on that. Let's just get rid of that. We want to get rid of it for some reason, and I'll show you how you get rid of that sort of thing and then what fades you'll use as you're going in and out of these parts. So we'll get rid of those 2 hits just by highlighting the area from before to after, clicking the delete button. That's gone. And now we'll use a fade out. We just do a fade out so we don't get any clicks or pops or anything like that. So it's a real small fade out. I'm just going to press the F button. It's that simple. If you want, you could open up that fade dialog and try some of the other fades. If you're really feeling something different, like you want this one instead, go for it. But it's going to be pretty much unnoticeable because we're working in a very small amount of time. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I don't want to fade over the sound. I want to fade going into the sound because I want the sound to have maximum impact, and you just saw how small that fade really is. I'll zoom in just to prove to you that it's there, but that's necessary. That has to be there. Those fades are everywhere, like I said. This is pre-edited, but this is the sort of thing we want to do as we're approaching our track. Find if there's any spots where there's some dead time before and after stuff. Here's another one. We got a little bit of dead time on the BVL through BVR pre-2, and I'll just fade it. Even middle sections, if you want to get rid of this, you're very welcome to. Any dead air you could just kind of take out before you mix, because all the dead air, there's something there. There's a little bit of sound, maybe the person moving around in the room or something, and it might mess up your mix later. We don't want to worry about that at all. We want to worry about what we're currently doing, which will be mixing. So take out stuff like that. And it really is that quick, that simple. Just know your nudge tool and know your fade hotkeys, and you'll be able to go click in, highlight things, press delete, highlight, press fade. You got everything fixed up real fast. And that's that. So we only fixed up a few things, only the few that I left in there. And yeah, we got everything. So that's really good for us. Let's take these solos off, and we're prepared to start mixing now. So just we'll get out of this one, and I'll see you on the next one when we start mixing the drum tracks together.